Hello everyone, this video is about how to assemble your first Equatorial Mount Telescope, and in this case I have a telescope from Celestron, that is Astromaster 130 EQ. This comes with a motor drive, so it comes an AMD as well in the model name itself. We will see how each and everything is gonna connect with each other. Apart from that, I will give you a quick information that this telescope is one of the most sold telescope worldwide, because people generally see that as they are gonna start their first astronomy journey, they want a telescope with a lot of features, but at the same time they don't want to spend a lot of bucks while buying that telescope, so they generally choose this one. And this telescope comes with a 650 mm focal length of mirror and 130 mm of aperture. Okay, so let's start with the assembly. And before I start, I will show you all the parts that I have received in the box. And even before I show you, let me tell you that I bought this telescope 1 year ago, exactly in 2023 April, but I have not made a dedicated unboxing video for that because I was so curious to explore this thing. This was my first experience with the telescope. So okay, enough talking for now. Let's see. These are the parts that I have received. Everything inside the box. It looks like this. Okay, so as you have seen that these are the parts, and we will start with the tripod leg. We need to open it, and you can stretch the legs if you want. This is the tripod, you can see. Okay, you can even extend the legs if you want, but right now I'm not gonna do that because it's just a assembly video. Okay, so let's do it. One more thing that I'm missing here is the tray of the tripod. Let me show you. So this is the tray of the tripod. Okay, and it goes directly here. It fits nicely here, and you can put your eyepiece and other equipments that when you are using this telescope. Okay, let me put it here so that I can show you another thing, that is our equatorial mount. You can call it one of the heart of this whole setup. This is going to take care of the alignment and movement of the optical tube, or you can say tracking as well at the same time. So let's install this, but before installing you need a screw that should be installed in the tripod itself. Let me show you how to do that. This is the screw, and you need to install it right over here. Why I'm saying installing? Because you need to fit it. Let me show you. It does not go directly inside. Okay, you have to twist it so that it can enter. Let me show you. Now we can put this mount and screw up this. Okay, so as we have already installed this mount successfully on this tripod, now we need this alt screw. We need the screw here so that it can change this angle of this EQ setup as per our current position. You can check that even in Google, what is your current position, and you can choose accordingly the altitude of it here. I think it's somewhere here. Okay, yeah, it's here. Okay, as we have already installed this alt knob here. Okay, now what we need is the counterweight. Counterweight is one of the most important crucial part of this EQ mount because it helps you make a perfect balancing while you are doing tracking or observing any object in the sky. You will know it when you will be experiencing this setup with your own. So before you install the counterweights, you need to have this weight handler rod. Okay, so now we have already installed the rod itself, but there is one thing that you need to know, that these counterweights are super heavy. You need to be very careful while you are installing it. Make sure these knobs are absolutely tight, because if you did a single mistake and it falls on your feet, then it can even break your bone. It's super heavy. Not that heavy that you cannot pick up, but it's such a small size with such a heavy weight. So be very careful who does not have any experience with these things. Okay, we have already installed the counterweights, but it has another most important thing as well that you need to be very carefully installing it. That is this lock. This is just a simple screw actually, but why I'm calling it lock is because it's gonna lock this handle, that it will not let this counterweights fall out of its position. Super important, because if you forgot to put this lock over here, then at certain any point this counterweights can become loose and it can fall on your leg itself or anywhere, but it's gonna make some damages for sure. Okay, now our EQ mount is totally ready, but what we are missing here is these knobs. Okay, why we need this knob is because when you are observing, you want that certain axis should be moving like this or like this. Okay, this is deck axis, and when it is moving like this, it is RA, right ascension. So this is the knob. Okay, we have already installed this in the deck axis, but before you think that it's gonna work, you need to lock here as well. If you will not lock, then it will not work. So when you are rotating this like this, you can notice that it is moving slightly. Okay, this is another knob as well. It is for deck axis. This is for those, you can say, this deck axis knob, those who don't have the motor drive or those who want to control it manually with their own hand movement. So we are having a motor drive with this thing, so that's why I'm not gonna use this thing. Okay, as of now you can even install the knob and the motor drive both at the same time, but the problem is you won't be able to control this knob when the motor drive is connected, so it's kind of useless. That's why I don't install it when I'm using the motor drive. Another thing that you need to know is that these knobs are very flexible. Not super flexible, but flexible enough that when you are rotating these knobs and they are changing position, so they can provide you some flexibility that it will not just become stationary and ruin your experience of observation. Okay, as we have already done with the setup of this equatorial mount with the tripod, now we will go towards our optical mount, optical tube mounting, I mean. Okay, what you need to understand is there is a belt which comes with a dovetail or for the telescope holding. That dovetail is gonna go and lock over here, and while locking you need to use these screws, you can see, to tighten it up. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this setup down here. It's heavy, so I will have to use both of my hands, and then I will show you the optical tube assembly. Okay, now we have our optical tube here. This is the red dot finder scope, you can see, and this is the belt that is gonna hold the telescope with the dovetail. Okay, now we will put this optical tube inside this belt and we will lock this like this. Okay, so let's do it. Now we have already locked this, and our tube is ready to be mounted on the equatorial mount. But before that, I will show you two more things, that is installing this red dot scope. So it's done. Another thing is that installing the eyepiece over here. For an example, I'm taking this 20 mm erecting eyepiece that comes with this telescope inside the box. Okay, we will take this out, this cap, and we will put this eyepiece over here, and we will lock this screw to hold this eyepiece on its place, and we will take it out, and simply we need to rotate this focusing knob so that it can change its focus and you can observe your object from your eye from this place. Okay, now we will install this optical tube on this equatorial mount. Let's do it. Okay, so now our equatorial mount is here and it's totally ready to get mounted with the optical tube. We will mount this optical tube on this head of the EQ mount. Okay, so I will again tell you that you need to tighten this screw so that it can hold the dovetail in its place over here, and we need to put the dovetail of the belt in this place. Okay, now we have already installed our optical tube on this beautiful equatorial mount. Another thing that I forgot to mention is there's this another screw right next to the screw to tighten the dovetail. This is also tightening the dovetail only, but they have given the secondary screw so that you can make sure that your optical tube is tight fit and it's not going to move anywhere. So you can tighten the second one as well. Okay, and the last thing here what we're missing to understand is this mount. This mount is for installing your finder scope or any other kind of equipment like a laser pointer towards sky, or you can even install a camera, DSLR, mirrorless, whatever you want. And there's another hole provided here so that you can put another mount screw here and you can install another equipments if you want. But as of now there is only one screw that comes inside the box. Okay, now our whole setup is ready. This was the all video about the assembly of this equatorial mount. This video was not covering all the functioning and specification detail of this whole telescope. This video was purely made for the assembly of this equatorial mount, especially for those who are beginners, those who have never had any astronomical gear experience and they are buying a new telescope or a new equatorial mount telescope. For them as well, this is going to be a little bit easier to understand. So that's all for this video. I hope you have liked this video. We will meet in another video. Thank you for watching this.